Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to Harness the Shift. My name is Jay. I am your host. We take time to heal here and to awaken and to rise together. Rooted in light, rewired for the return. This is Harness the Shift. Let's get started.
I love that intro.
I love Thank you. Yeah, I worked on that last night. I was like, darn, man, I forgot to do the voiceovers. And I'm like, I'm really liking doing these voiceovers. I'm like,
Yeah, you have to teach me how to do that.
I'm like, maybe I should start doing voiceovers too.
Yeah. Hey, there is so much we can do.
There's so much to do.
Yeah.
There's so much to do. Now, you know what? It's not, hi everybody, by the way. Now it's not hard. You just have to know like when to put the inflection, and you have to really be conscious of like if because you're on the mic, you're talking into the mic, you're not talking to anybody out there, and you're saying, well, welcome to Harness the Shift podcast. My name is Jay, that kind of thing. And it's like you kind of have to be fun with it. You got to have a little fun with it. But hi, Ramona. Good morning. Or shall I say grand rising. There is nothing to mourn. That's another thing. Weapon is we were talking about so much before we started. We ended up starting a little bit late, but that's okay. But we were talking about certain things, and in this system, and that the one thing is what was where was I going with that? I lost my train of thought.
I had read this to you as the trance of unworthiness becomes conscious, it begins to lose its power over our lives. And I was saying that when we get bombarded with commercials, with you need insurance, you need car insurance, you need health insurance, you need a pill, you need, credit cards, and it would just, you're watching a video and it goes to commercials, and then you're bombarded with that.
Right.
And that's on a daily for so many years. And it creates this vortex of unconscious manifesting.
Right.
And that, what I read basically says, once you know or you see through the programming, it's no longer valid. Like it doesn't take away my power.
Another thing that it does is it creates this energy of consumption, right? The creation is out of the picture. It's consume. It's oh, I got this pill, I got that. And you see it on social media too. If you're scrolling, you come across a commercial, and it's all programming. And if we're not present and mindful that's occurring, we can get caught up in it. So yeah, it's interesting how the ego works, right? And how all of that is like and also the sense of I need it now, right? Like I gotta have it now. Like there's no patience involved, like, and that's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing that people are stepping into their healing journey. They're learning how to be patient. And that is such an amazing virtue, to be patient, because if you can be patient, you can be patient with yourself, you can be patient with other people. And that comes from love, right? That's heart-centered, that let me be patient. Let me, not like this illusion of time, plane delays, whatever it may be. Everything happens for divine reasoning, right? Delays and all of these things. And when we can be patient with one another, that I think that is a good thing, because I'm thinking while I'm talking, I went and ate the other day with my friend Lisa, and we went to this new Mexican restaurant. And I walked in there and I was like, okay, and I'm looking and I'm like, this is kind of not set up like, how I like can look at things and the flow of things, and it's like I don't have any restaurant experience, but um, you know, going back to my days in big pharma and doing events and things like that, like I just know how things flow. Like, I used to be a foodie and I know how things should flow in a restaurant. And I'm like, what is going on here? And it turned out that was their very first date. Well, we didn't know that. And um, they had the doors open. It was hot in there. I was just like, oh my God, I'm melting in here. And the service was really slow. And I just was like, okay, just be patient. In my head, I'm just like, okay, be patient, be patient. And so they forgot to put our order in. Then they went ahead and they put it in late. And
Yeah.
then the manager comes over and she says, thank you so much for being patient. And I'm like, oh, no problem. And she's like, this is our first night. The dishwasher didn't show up. This
Oh
person
God.
didn't show up. And I'm like, oh God. I go, are you in the back doing dishes? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, and I had this like pull on my heart that I wanted to help her. Like,
Mhm.
and there was a split second, like I just had this empathy for her, and I was like, damn, maybe I should just go back there and help her. Like, and then she had a big old line outside, and my friend Lisa was like, hey, because Lisa has some experience. Her parents, they owned a restaurant, and she used to work there when she was a kid. And she was like, go out there and say, hey, look, this is our first night. We're really busy. We had some people that didn't show up, and just communicate that we'll get to you as soon as possible. So she did that. And when I got up, I said, you know what? I go, you look like you need a hug. I said, can I give you a hug? And she's like, yes. And I just whispered in her ear and I said, you know what? I go, everything is going to be okay. It's going to be okay. All
Oh,
you can do is
wow.
do the best that you can. And she just started crying. And I'm like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
I didn't want to make her cry. And it was just like, stuff like that. You never know. Like, we can
Yep,
be
yep,
so
yep.
critical. You never know what's going on in somebody's lives, right? And
That is so true. That is so true.
right. And that's why it's so important to always check that ego when we're being
Mhm.
overcritical or whatever it may be. Um,
And that
and
that's part of our shift. That is part of
yeah,
not falling into the old patterns of of the impatience of like your experience, or getting stuck in traffic and losing our minds, um, and criticizing people. And so not falling in those old patterns is part of our personal shift.
right.
How do we handle situations on the daily? For example, in my neighborhood, I don't know everybody. I've only been in this neighborhood about 3 years, and my husband does know the neighbors. And we went to a funeral yesterday, and or a
Oh,
memorial, and one of our neighbors, which I know who she is, but I don't know her personally. We just started talking, and I don't know if she felt comfortable with me, and she opened up a little bit about her relationship with her daughter, and I
wow.
empathized, and I said, it sounds similar to something I went through with my daughter. And she's like, really? And I said, yeah. But I didn't want to make it about me, so I kept
Yeah, yeah,
listening.
yeah.
And she you could tell, like, she just wanted to cry, and we couldn't go further into our conversation because the memorial, they were ready to speak. but she says, I'd really like to get together. And I said, you bet.
Oh,
And and this woman, I had heard comments about her being a little loony.
oh, you
And it's
know,
like, and you know what? I did not fall into that,
no,
because when I heard the comment, and I said, well, I don't know her. I said, so I can't say anything about that.
right.
And it really showed me that when people take the time to listen without judgment, you never know how much you can help that person just by listening without judgment. And like you made a big difference in that woman's life at the restaurant. Like,
Yeah,
all she needed was just a little moment
yeah,
of compassion.
yeah. Just yeah, compassion and just when I whispered in her ear, I'm like, you got this. Like you got, because she was like, I'm the owner. And I'm like, I was like, you know what? I go, you got this. You know what you're doing. You got this. So just, um,
I would
step
stay in touch
in.
with her.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back over there
Back
probably.
and just say, hey girl, how you doing?
Yeah. Just step in and be like, hey,
Hello,
what's
girl.
going on up in here? Um, yeah,
Love it.
yeah, and that's the thing. We need to do more of that, right? We need to do more of that because we get in this mindset, and I can relate, being in the planes, trains, and automobiles and clinical research, and I got to go to this site and that site, and I mean, all over the place, Florida, California. I don't know how I did it. I look back and I'm like, wow, I don't know how I did that. 2 weeks out in California, 2 weeks on the East Coast. For 3 years, I did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we don't know what other people are going through. That's why we have to take our own ownership in harnessing this shift. And when we're committed to changing our mindset and we're committed to stepping into the healing journey, when we're healing ourselves, it starts with us. It starts with the woman in the mirror. And if we can come to that heart center and just, have that where we're being compassionate about the things that, we may end up being exposed to, it wasn't, I'm like, I should have said, hey, by the way, you might want to train the cook too, because I was like, oh man, it just wasn't a good night. But I felt, you know what,
You were there for a reason, Jamie.
shit happens. I was there obviously on a mission.
Absolutely.
Spirit put me there for a mission. So when I look at that, I'm like, sometimes we've got to ask ourselves, what can I do in this situation? And you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I can be an asshole or I can be cool.
Yeah.
And I can be compassionate. And
yeah. And
Jamie, it's so much
it's easier to be.
It warmed my heart when I felt because I could feel that. I could feel that energy, right? That was coming off of her, the anxiety and the angst and oh my God, did I make the right decision doing this? I mean, I felt it all in that moment. And I was just like, you got this. Like, you got this. And she was like, thank you. And she was just crying. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't mean to make her cry. But,
and it makes me think, like, was there a moment in my life where someone took the time to listen to me, or just like you, a hug?
yeah.
And I have had a few moments with clients when I was a hairdresser for many years. I've had really beautiful clients who I really never spoke a lot about myself. I love to make their time about them. But there was a few who always asked me, how are you? How is your life? How are your kids? Tell me more. And you know, even just a few moments of having someone that embraces you without any judgment or trying to fix the situation, but just those kind words. And I've had a few people do that.
Yeah.
And again, you know, friends, you know, you and I have had moments like that, but, and it makes me want to be that. I want to be, when there's a time and a place. And if you feel the call to do that, like you did in the restaurant,
Right.
do it. We don't have to solve somebody's problems, but just to show that little bit of love and compassion and attention, it makes a huge difference in people's lives. It does touch their hearts.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing, we all know how to solve problems. It's that when we get so caught up in the emotionality of what's going on, oh my God, the problem, right? Like you're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, you do. You know what to do. It's just your brain is in override right now. And when we can be like kind of that light to say, okay, bring it down a notch. You got this. You got this. You know?
We connect with the frequency
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
the
And
frequency
just, yes. And
of
in that moment, all of that anxiety was alchemized, gone. It was a release. Her crying was a release. And I bet that she probably was like, it turned on and she was like on it, you know? Um, it's so true, right?
yeah.
And like yesterday on social media, I saw this. I'm just taking this because I'm like, I'm going with this. On social media, I saw this video of this little boy. It was an Asian man and his little son. And there were like these, like, it looked like string across, like it was a barrier, like there were three strings. And the father stepped over it. And the son was like, no, I don't know how to get through. And he was trying to, get through. And then he was crying out for his dad. And his dad was just sitting there watching him like, no, figure it out, figure it out. And what happened? He figured it out. And then it was like, oh, I figured it out. We want to always like jump in and solve the problem. I was good at that. I'm a good problem solver, and I was good at inserting myself and solving things that I should not have solved because it was their purpose. So when we do that, when we're a problem solver, or we have to be the end all be all, or whatever you want to call it, the fixer, the rescuer. It sometimes is not a good thing. It's actually more harmful.
Absolutely.
Because
Let me do it. I can do it better. I can relate to that.
yeah, I can do it better, faster, more efficient. Better, faster, more efficient. Oh, you know what? That's not good. That right there, that you could use better utilization of space. You see that when I walked in? When I walked in, the ego was like, whoa, wait a minute. We can use this, and I wanted to solve a problem. And it was not my problem to solve.
Gosh.
And once I realized, like, okay, whoa, what am I doing here? No. And then it was like, whoa, oh, I see why. Oh, I see why I was there.
It's
So
the sense of controlling. We want to control everything. That it comes from the root of control. We want to control. I want to control my children's lives. I want to control the outcome of their decisions. And that is the ego's, need of controlling the situation,
Right.
And not allowing our true essence, our divinity, our Christ consciousness to step back and say, like you, I don't need to control that. It's not in my hands to control. I'm just going to let that play out. If there's something that I am called to do, I'll do it. But when you cast yourself like you did and say, I don't need, it does, it brings relief. Like, that's right. I don't need to be in control of that. Or, for me, when my husband is driving, I want to take over. I
Right.
can drive better. And, my foot's like on the floor trying. And because I have always been the person, I'm a better driver. And I'm learning just to step back and say, hey, he's doing a good job. He's never been in an accident. Just relax.
Right.
And it's those little things that we just are unlearning. We are unlearning those years of control and trauma and we are shifting into our wholeness, our divinity, our Christ consciousness, our our birthright is being in a place of peace. And I'm not saying that that's going to be our life. Oh, you just have to be in this peace. No. It's learning, knowing when to step back and not feeling falling into those patterns of control and unsteadiness and a spike in our nervous system and suffering. No, we can be passionate, but without losing the love.
Right.
Without jumping into the old patterns and the ego. We can still live a life of passion and putting our foot down when something doesn't seem right.
Right.
There's nothing wrong. We're still here in this vessel.
Right.
In this world to live a life that we want.
Right. And here's the thing, like it's the same, what you're explaining is the same relationship that you have with God, right? Here's a newsflash. We're not in control. I mean, we are in control of certain things, but we're not in control. And, when I started on this journey and I said, you know what? I am effing done. I did. I said it out of my mouth. I'm effing done with this bullshit, God. You know what? I'm done. You know what? You do what you got to do, but I'm done. I'm going to sit over here and I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. And it's like you're like breaking down, but you're just like literally at that point of surrender. Like, you know what? I don't know what the F is going on. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I'm just going to surrender and you do it. And ever since then, it's like, okay, cool. Things have happened and in this journey, and I'm in this transition right now, right? I've been on this transition. I was just thinking about this today. I'm like, it is mid-August. What?
Yeah.
And I'm like, the whole thing, like I've struggled over the last 6 months of this really not being in a mindset of lack, that everything will be provided for me because I'm really stepping into this and surrendering and doing the work that's needed, because in the spirit, God uses us during our healing journeys to really kind of refine us for our purpose. And I know that I've always kind of been ahead of myself in this journey, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to do it, but it's like, it's only going to happen when it's time. It's not my, this is not like when you step into the healing journey, it's like, and you're surrendering, like, I'm on God's time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I understand He's in control. And so, yeah, I mean, we're human. We're going to have times, you know, the ego doesn't completely die. You need the ego in order to have that for survival. It's basically training that ego. Like, okay, I don't need you to survive for me in this instance. So take a seat. I got this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
When
it's interesting.
when I get when I start to teach a class, a yoga class,
Mm-hmm.
I start with the breath,
Yeah.
just the awareness of the breath, and I do it mainly for me, you know, to be able to center myself and connect to my source, and not have the
Right.
ego come in and want to, you know, teach. No, I want to center myself so I can guide everyone into this beautiful hour of unity. And when, you know, we find ourselves on ego mode, all we have to do is ground, you know, set our feet on the floor, acknowledge our breath, connect with our vessel, and we then align again with, you know, we balance out our nervous system, and we align again with who we are. And but I always start with the breath in my yoga class, because it just brings me back to center, and it allows me to talk to my ego and say, hey, just for about an hour, I'd like for you to just sit here quietly. Here's a little piece of chocolate, or you're going to get a little piece of chocolate at the end of my session. And because again, your ego is, it's part of who we created that. So we can't just, like, you know, push it away, but we can talk to it, and we can embrace it. And because all the ego, all it wants is love. It's really what it is. It just wants
100%.
love.
That I think that is the human condition, right? That we need love. We need unconditional love. But in order to get to unconditional love, that's, you know, I'm not gonna judge you. Um, I'm just gonna sit back, and I'm gonna love you through whatever it is, because you have to experience it. Um, when you do that, you just realize, like, wow, like, it's pretty cool, this whole shift, the whole shift in being, where you are now so in control of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and you catch yourself before you say things that you probably wouldn't say or you shouldn't say. Because not everything needs to be said, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's love too, right? When we when we reserve our opinions. It's different if you have a perspective. It's two different things.
Right.
Opinion comes from the ego. Opinion comes from being rooted in judgment, in the programming. Like, oh, if they step outside of this, like for instance, I'm just going to say it. We talk about this whole thing with Christ, right? There's a programming behind Christ, and it's a deception. We should be questioning any and all things and unlearning, and learning, right? Learning also in the spirit learning. And if we're not willing to question any and all things, like, this is one thing that I'm like in this conundrum of, we know we've been deceived about so much. Why wouldn't you question religion? Like, that is such a way of controlling human beings. Like, that should be one of the very first things. But with that, we still have folks that are just not willing to question that. And I think it's because they feel like they're going to lose something, right? Like, if the concept of Christ is different from what I've been trained or been, ingrained in my experience here on earth, that he's my savior, and all of this, like, I lose that. And it's like, no, you don't lose it, because Jesus was a master teacher. He embodied some of these amazing qualities that we're talking about: love, unconditional love, and compassion, and understanding, and not having to fix everything, but like making suggestions, like giving people little like crumbs. Like when Lisa shared with her, hey, go out and say XYZ, it was a suggestion. It was a perspective based on her experience. It was an unconditional love that she was giving this girl, this perspective on, hey, do this, and I guarantee. And the moment she went out and she explained what was going on, everybody was like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Because they knew what was going on. When people are informed, it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, and if I can add a little bit to what you're talking about, religion. Yeah. I was deeply in my religion, Jehovah's Witness, baptized, for many years, and Jesus was portrayed as the Son of God, the only Son of God, and our Savior, and died for our sins. And we worshiped him and his father Jehovah. And the years that I was there, with all my heart, I thought that was the only truth. And once I started to question it, and eventually left religion and looked at it from now the outside, a lot of my faith was based out of fear. And that, now again, being in the religion, there was a lot of beautiful things, and it served a purpose. Coming out, obviously I got to the point where I felt controlled, and not living a life of my own, but the way they wanted me to live. And there is a lot of sense of fear. And if you don't do this, if you don't do that. So now looking at it from the outside, Jesus was not to be worshipped. He said, I am the way, because he meant it in a way of, hey, I am the way, meaning do as I did. Everybody can be enlightened. It's not, I am your brother kind of thing. And so things really changed for me. And losing that religious fear was one of the biggest enlightenments I had. It just took so much weight off my shoulders to know that that God is not a judgmental God. Jesus did not die for our sins. He showed us that, hey, this is the way.
Yep.
And he did it with so much love. There's so many wonderful things we can talk about how he lived his life on earth. There's so many stories.
Oh, there's so many stories. And we talk about the system, and thank you for sharing that, because you know what's so crazy is I was saying this, I was in my head, I was saying, oh God, you know what would be amazing if Ramona would share her experience as being a Jehovah's Witness, right? Because you came from that religious background, and you're here now, right? You've come to this place of enlightenment where you really understand that the kingdom is within. It's not outside of you. You have a direct connection to your creator.
You know how
Every time.
beautiful that is?
It's
And
so
and
cool.
and again, I'm not saying, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses are bad. They're
No,
not.
no, no.
I met such beautiful people in there. But now that I don't belong in their organization, I am looked. They see me uh, as I betrayed them, and I am
Judgment.
seen as the sinner, and I'm the only one in my family who left. And so it's been several years, and I have gone through the roller coaster of resentment and anger and sadness, and now I'm at a point where I've created this space of peace, and my sister has come into this space now, and we're building this beautiful relationship, and she's a Jehovah's Witness, but I guess she feels a little safe with me. My bitterness and anger has dissipated, so I
Yeah,
think she
yeah.
feels just good, coming back around. And I think that true love and true compassion, you'll know you have it when you look back and you realize that everything had a purpose in your life, and you have dropped the resentment and the bitterness and the anger and the pointing the finger and the victimhood. You've kind of just dropped that, and now you're living a life of not perfection, but without the struggle and the suffering. And Jesus showed compassion and forgiveness to the people around him, kind of saying true forgiveness is really looking at a situation as if it had never happened.
Yeah.
That is true forgiveness.
Yeah.
It never happened.
Do you mind if I'm gonna share a story, but I'm gonna say something before I say it, and I'm not saying it from a place of judgment. I'm just saying it from my experience in my life. Um, we've never really, growing up, I never really was like religion really wasn't a big in the house. It was more, we believe in God,
Mhm.
do good things, what what you want to put out in the world, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
My mother, I believe my mother was a very intuitive soul. Uh, Her and my brother had some sort of telepathy going on. Her and Thomas. My mother had miscarried a couple times before she had Thomas. And so the relationship with my brother Thomas was, oh wow, and this is so, it's so bonkers. There would be times, oh yeah, Thomas is on his way over after I got out of the Air Force and I'm home getting ready to start going to college and finishing my degree. Oh, Thomas is on his way over. Oh, did you talk to him? No, he's on his way. And I'm like, what? What is this? Next thing you know, he walks in the door. And I'm just like, whoa, that's so crazy. So it's always been this thing, right? My mom was always kind of this, loving and intuitive soul. And when we were growing up, we had moved to Texas. My father had lost his job. That was when everything was going crazy outside of Chicago. And my father was a blue collar worker. He was a Marine, and he started out being a paramedic, but he just couldn't make enough money doing that and taking care of the family. Even back then, imagine that. And it's the same. It's the same now. And so we moved to a town called Haldezetta, which is outside of Houston. And when we lived there, my dad had a job and, he was working. We were doing great. We lived in this really nice ranch house, and it was a nice piece of property. And we lived next door to Mr. Neely, and Mr. Neely had hogs, and we would go help feed the hogs. So we were really like in that whole like farming and, that. And then my father lost his job, and we ended up having to move out of that house and into a not so nice house. But the way that we were treated by the church, because we were going to the church, we had started going to the church, the United Methodist Church there. The way that we were treated after that happened was like we didn't belong there anymore, because we weren't in the nice home anymore. And here I am, this kid, I think Thomas was probably about, gosh, this was in the 80s. So I think we moved down there when I was like 10. Thomas was like 4. I mean, he was young. And I remember that being like my parents being so like upset about that. And I noticed it too, but I took in a lot of stuff. I wouldn't say I was quiet about certain things. I really didn't get my voice until high school. So I just sat back and observed. I always was an observer as a kid. I was a pissed off kid, and I realize now why I was pissed off, because this is my 9th life, and I was like, I can't freaking believe I'm back here again. Thank you. Not. I was just mad. So I just kept my mouth shut. But I had an opportunity last year, and I had to go to Houston for work. I had to go. I was helping someone, so I was kind of co-monitoring. So I went to Houston. And something in my spirit said, drive out to Haldezetta. So I did. And I drove out and I saw the house, and the house that we moved in, it's not there anymore. And I just kind of, and it was sunset, and I really couldn't stay long, but going there and alchemizing all of that energy, it was like, wow, thank you. Thank you
Mhm.
for having that. But I guess what I want to say is that and that's not the only experience. I could tell you so many stories. The most judgment that I have ever gotten in my life are people that say that they follow Christ. And here's the thing. If you truly follow Christ, you understand that Christ is loving, patient, and kind. And he would sit in the front pew with the, you know, the lepers of society. So, and being able to really come full circle and understand that, right? That this is where the judgment comes from, is these programmings, and we need to question any and all things. And it's like, once you start to question it, like, why are they removing the book of Enoch, the Gospel of Thomas? Why did they remove all of these texts?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And it's all
And
control. All control.
right,
Mhm. It's
right,
just,
because
it's just
inherently,
the control, as we talked about it earlier, we are control freaks. Now
yes,
imagine that in a collective, and religion,
yeah,
has used that kind of control over people. And again, it's
mm-hmm,
all fear. It's fear based. And if we can see it and acknowledge it, and because I was there, I know that when I was there, I thought in my heart that I was telling the truth. There was nothing else. And because I was there, I'm able to hold space for those people. I'm not saying I'm better,
right,
but I hold space in my heart because they're still
right,
there, and they're
yeah,
playing out a role, and they're good people, but they're still in that fear controlled environment, and they cannot see anything else, at least right now. And so our situation is, we need to have that space for when they are ready to come
yeah,
out.
absolutely, absolutely,
And that is the difference between knowing and becoming aware, and having the space, the love, the Christ consciousness, the patience for those people, and for those that are still very involved and attack those who don't believe what they believe. Those people are in so much fear, and they need the most love, and they need the most compassion. And that is why we're doing this. This is why we are here right now, you, me, and those that are listening, that we can anchor the light in the 3 dimension and the 5th dimension.
mm-hmm,
We are multi-dimensional beings, so we are holding the light. We came here for that.
yeah,
And holding the light, it's not for us, but it's for those people that are still sleeping.
yeah. Still kind of stuck in that frequency, and that's really what it is. We're
Mhm.
in this frequency, right?
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
love, and look, here's the thing, it's all divine timing. Okay, God is in control. So,
Mhm. Yep.
and it's like you can see, it's like, whoa, yeah. Like, we were talking about this before we started, how you look back 5 years ago, we're in a different place. Even though all of these things are being revealed to us and we're having revelations about how we thought the world was, at the same time, you see, like, there are more people talking about the Christ frequency, Christ consciousness, than ever before.
Yeah,
Ever
the
before.
way I see or feel the difference between now and when I was sleeping, we're always manifesting.
Yeah.
And we're manifesting from a subconscious level. Everything is consciousness. So we either act and manifest in a subconscious way, or we jump into the Christ consciousness and awareness. And instead of projecting, now we're creating. And when you're in that Christ consciousness creation, because you live now a more peaceful life. And that's when you're not just projecting from your subconscious. And when you are projecting from your subconscious, you're hustling, and you want to try really hard to manifest and work with the universal laws and God. But when you set everything aside and you become aware and you live a life of true consciousness, Christ consciousness, then there is no need to work with the work and make the law of attraction work for you. No, that automatically happens when you're in that alignment with the Christ consciousness. And that's what Christ Jesus showed us. And that we no longer have to project. We just now step back and live our lives in peace and harmony with the divine wisdom of Christ consciousness. And that is who we are. That is our true identity. We don't need to learn anything. Learning comes from lack. We know already. We just have to allow it. If that makes sense.
Yeah. John 14:12. We are to do greater works than Christ, meaning we are called to step up into that same frequency. So, not judging, giving unconditional love and encouragement. Hey, you got this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to judge. Sure, would I have done it differently? Yeah, probably. But you don't need to know that. But I don't need to judge. I love you. You got this. That's what we need right now
Mm-hmm.
in the world. And I think also and we can speak to this too, that when we're in our ego, that we got to wake people up. No. That's all in divine timing. You're just here to drop the seed, and keep it moving.
Yeah.
Drop the seed, embody love. You may not have it all you may not have it all understood, but you can still embody love and say, I may not understand everything or every piece or whatever, but I can still be loving and patient and kind.
Yeah, we can start to remove those layers little by little, kind of pierce through the illusion of the programming that the life we've lived.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about because we say programming, right? And I just want to take into consideration that maybe not everybody understands what we're talking about when we say that. Talk about this earthly realm and the illusion in your from your perspective.
Well, we cannot live outside of God. There's one. God is love. Love is everything. That's who we are. We cannot be separate from that. So in order to experience ourselves as love, we came into a dream. This dream was kind of hijacked and became an illusion. And we started to see ourselves as separate beings, right?
Yeah.
In my story, at least this lifetime that I'm here, we all have it. We all have this intuitive knowing, questioning things as children. I questioned everything. We would read history. We would read history books of history and wondered. I remember saying, "Who wrote this? Like, how do these people know this is real?" Like, and in science class, okay, how do we know this, or where did this come from? But again, that all kind of gets buried because they put us in a box. And so then we have the institutions of, the school, you have your college, you have your religion, you have your family, you have your friends, you have your TV programs, so then your true identity is buried somewhere, and we have lived in this illusion of what life is, or what we think life is. And one day you start to question, and your eyes open, and you start to see that there is much more than the box they put you in. There is much more than what they made you believe. And when you start to question those things, and you start to remove the layer of religion, and then you start to remove the layer of institutions, the way you need to behave in school, or this is what you need to go study, and then the layer of you have to do this, and then the layer of your family, and then there's all these layers that you start to remove. Those are the layers of illusion. But Jesus said, you can pierce right through it. You don't have to live layer over layer over layer. We'd be here for eternity. Piercing through the layers of illusion means come directly to your divine self, your Christ consciousness, your direct communication with source. You don't need any middleman anymore. It is, we have that. And that's what Jesus showed us, to see through the illusion that we are that.
Yeah.
Everything. So this illusion now at least becomes a happy dream.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also on this journey, right, where we see that and we're like, question it, then, the closer in alignment to God we get, and it's like, you have the eyes to see, and you're looking around and you're like, oh, wow.
And when you say, and I say, we got to question this, it doesn't mean we have to question and try to fix it. We don't
Right,
fix
right.
the
Yeah.
matrix. There's nothing to fix because, again, it doesn't exist. It's an illusion. So when we see through the illusion, we break the spell.
Right.
And again, we're one. There's nothing to fix. We can't make things real.
Right.
Because the moment we try to fix and we try to control and we try to break, we make it real and we suffer.
Yeah.
So that's why we just see through it and observe it. And it has no power over us anymore.
Right.
To me, that is seeing through the illusion, piercing through the illusion, not wanting to fix and unwind everything. That would be jumping into another wagon of illusion.
So I have a question. So the world is not ending?
No. Your world is ending. The way you see the world is ending. Everything is happening at once. All realities are happening at once. It's how you see your reality. You can make the change today. There is no time for change. No, you can make the change today and say, I no longer belong to those old patterns. I changed today. I changed my timeline today. And now the world changes for you.
Right.
That's the way I see my world.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at, right? And I've been I think I've been pretty much in seclusion, these times where I come into seclusion and I do a lot of work. This has happened, many times through this journey in the last 5 years. And each time it's like, man, it's leveling up, right? Like you're really starting to like understand it. I think that I enjoy I enjoy my seclusion, but I also do, I also enjoy people too, right? And I know that what you're saying is so true, because when you're in this mindset, you do start to attract things, right? And your purpose in the whole thing, or maybe your purpose changes. Obviously it changes as you become more conscious. You start to understand what the purpose is, and you understand that every interaction that we have it's all divinely orchestrated. That walking into that restaurant the other day, it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And when we understand that every little interaction that we have with people, it's like, and we can embody what our true authentic nature is, because God created us, and God is the all-knowing and all-loving and all-powerful God. Did not create us to be fearful, did not create us to be jerks, to not be, be impatient, demanding, cruel, whatever it may be. God did not create us to do that. So when you start to embody that, and you're going on your journey, and you learn to love, and you learn to, love yourself unconditionally, and forgive yourself for the things that, that you've done in your life that you did while you were in survival mode, you start to understand, okay, you know what? I am a powerful being. I am a loving being, and it starts with me. You can change that. You're right. You can change your mind today.
Yeah.
And really, it does start with us. It starts with what are we putting out? And what are we so, like, sometimes I'm like, what are we so afraid? Like, what are you so afraid of? Like the fear, like, oh, the world's ending and we're all going to die, and we're this and and it's like, I don't see that. I do not see that. I would say, like, tiny, like little dot, no fear. Like, maybe, I mean, I'm not going to say no fear, but like, because that comes in, obviously. And I know if it comes in, fear always hits, I know where it hits me vibrationally in my meat suit, in my avatar, in my vessel, in my temple. When it comes from and it hits me in the gut, I'm like, I'm gonna raise that up over here to the heart, and I'm gonna just, because I have nothing to fear.
Mm-hmm.
Because my creator is not a fearful creator.
Right. We were created at his image. His
Absolutely.
image was not someone in lack, someone in fear, someone in control. No, it's divine and whole. There's nothing missing there. And if we can think about where we were 5 years ago, even a year ago,
Mm-hmm.
who we were, where we were, what kind of life we lived.
Yeah.
And then think of now. You're not in the same reality. You shifted.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Left.
mean by leaving a certain world or reality. Because again, if we stay within the frequency of love, we tune into the consciousness of love. Therefore, other things that do not vibrate within that frequency will not be in your presence. It's impossible.
Yeah.
So you do get rid of that world.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? And people who choose to vibrate at lower density and want to play in the dark, they are still from source, and they will eventually come back and meet their source. We all come from it. It's just where do you choose to play in this reality?
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we talked about. I'm wondering. Trying to think. Let's talk about boundaries real quick. Boundaries. Oh well, boundaries are such a bad thing. No. When you do this work, and you're in that loving vibration, you're walking around amongst out here, and you have to go out there every now and again. You're amongst people that may not be in the same vibration of in this frequency of Christ, loving, patient, kind, understanding, compassionate. Let's talk about boundaries and why they're so important.
Yeah, I mean, I always go back to my electromagnetic field. If you are vibrating at a certain frequency, you will attract that. And a lot of the times, if you come across a situation where it just doesn't feel right to you, yeah, say, I acknowledge this, I see it for what it is, and I don't want a part of it. To me, that's a boundary. I think if you're always living creating boundaries, there's something going on. There's something else there's something going on with you that you're attracting that on a constant. But
I guess,
if
no, I get what you're saying. I guess maybe what I'm saying is, for instance, you may be out and about or whatever, or social media is a big thing, right? If you're a content creator, you're getting into content creation, or you're doing a podcast or whatever it may be, I mean, people look. What is his name? Some of these folks that I watch that are in the neuroscience community, you look at some of the comments. Some people will say negative things like this and that. So it's like, it's the same concept of, if you're not going to drop a seed in barren land, right? This is where you need to know, do I speak? Do I not speak? This is where you cultivate this, right? So knowing that's kind of a boundary, right? Because you're holding a frequency. We're holding a line in a way, because I truly believe that if there weren't a lot of souls that were holding love in that vibration, we probably wouldn't be this far along, right? Looking from years ago till now. So I know that things are getting stirred up, and I have friends that have kids, and things are getting stirred up, and there's this big movement of, we'll just go no contact with your family. And so obviously that causes a lot of suffering, because we have these attachments to the folks that our kids or our brothers or our sisters or our uncles or aunts and grandparents and things like this. And so maybe family too, like having these healthy boundaries as someone who is on this journey, on this healing journey, stepping into this, whatever it may be. And I think it is important to have boundaries, to know when not, know when is what I'm going to say, is it going to matter? Like, I'll share something with you. When I was in Chicago in March for my birthday, or not for my birthday, my uncle's funeral, excuse me. I was mostly in the observer. I really did not speak a lot around the family. I just kind of observed. And I mean, I spoke, but I didn't typically speak like I had in the past. So it was like, well, you're awfully quiet. And it's like, no, I'm just taking it all in. No, I'm not talking. I know I'm not quiet. I know when to speak, and I know when to not get caught up in things, and that sort of thing. So maybe like when you're interacting with folks that might not be in the frequency that you are, and you want to hold that love, patience, kindness, understanding.
I think you did do, by you being there in silence and becoming the observer, that was your way of setting your boundaries.
Yeah.
You didn't have to say anything.
Mm-mm.
I think people know that.
There could have been times like I definitely could have said
God, yeah. I mean,
but I chose not to. So I was like, not my circus, not my monkeys, not my circus. So no,
we're not going to hide in a cave because we can't deal with people that disagree with us.
Right.
You're always going to be around people. And that's the great thing about awakening or coming into to enlightenment, is we go through these waves of, we become awake, our first spark of awareness, and then we start to see all the BS in the world, and we want to tell the whole world, and then we become angry and upset, and I'd rather be sleeping again, because and then we go through this other stage of awakening where we start to loosen up a little bit, and then you get to this point of awakening where everything is just, you embody everything.
I'm free falling. Right? That's kind of how I feel.
And then you just kind of see everything for what it is. Nothing bothers you anymore, at least not as much. And you go through these stages of awakening, and now you're in this observing stage of little less triggering, and the resentment is gone, and you just integrate your knowing with the people around you, and nobody messes with you anymore. All of a sudden, those old relationships that used to bother you are no longer around you. And you kind of live in this really great circle. Now you have a beautiful platform on social media, and you get these people coming in and kind of hijacking your information, making it their own, and arguing with you and other people. And you know what? You're going to have those. But guess what? Those people are looking, they're searching, they're being triggered by you. They're
Yeah.
So thank them. Hey, thank you for this. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for letting me trigger you today.
It's like, thanks for popping in and reading my stuff. I get your point of view. Done. And it's like, but you will get to this point in your life where you just have more of a balanced outlook and serenity. And the right people will come because you have this aura about you of love, and you will be in a situation where you, even without a word, you're light. You're anchoring of that light will help those around you. I believe that. I felt that.
My inner dialogue with my higher self. I'm like, it's great.
I'll tell you a quick story.
It's great.
So I'm a big, I think I mentioned this. I'm a big pickleball player, and I belong to a league in Florida, and I'm 5'1".
You won the pickleball the championship back when I was there in 23, and I was getting ready to move to Idaho. She won an award. I was like, what? Why? What?
Anyway, so anyway, in my league, I can't remember exactly how it happened or what led to this. Again, I'm 5'1". I'm a little thing. And one of my teammates, we split up. She went to another league, and she said to me, I miss you so much. And I said, oh, that's really sweet. And she says, you're mighty. Everybody talks about how strong you are. And she said, you just have a powerful presence about you. And it was like, really? And
you
she
do.
says, yeah. And she says, I didn't even realize that you were, because we were talking about height, I didn't even realize you were 5'1". And I said, that makes me feel really good. So
mighty.
My point is that when you embody this love and really embrace who you are, truly your divine self,
Yeah.
you will have a presence
Yeah.
anywhere you go. And people have said that, and it it shocks me, but we bring that light, that spark with us everywhere we go.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting because and I love to write. I feel like I can really pour myself out, right? I'm on chapter 7 of my book, folks. I mean, we're just in the beginning stages here, okay? I gotta edit it and all that, but um like pouring my heart out. So I take time with my content, and I'm not one of these. I don't believe for me it doesn't work for me because it's with the attention I'm putting behind it. I don't like to do the batch content where it's like, oh, we're going to do, they would just throw it out there just to throw it out there. And it's like, no, I don't do that. I sit back and I might be like, okay, well, what's the topic of the day, spirit? Like, what are we going to talk about today? Like the other day it was grounding, right? I posted something on Substack about grounding. And I remember last week I had put something on Facebook and someone said something and I was just thinking in my head, is that's what you got from this? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I mean it's sometimes it's like, yeah, you can get upset about that and then the next day it was like somebody actually took what I wrote and used it and didn't give credit, and it was like, you know what? I'm done. The long form content is going to be on Substack from now on,
Mhm.
because I'm not. That's the solution. I'm a problem solver. That's the solution. Um, and I'm just like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no need to get upset about it. There's no need to get, pissy about things. It is what it is. Sometimes you're going to put stuff out there and people are going to be like, "Whoa, man, I feel this." And it's like that that's the purpose of it. And
Mhm.
every now and again, you're right. You're going to have someone who's off, who's just going to be like, say something totally off the wall because it's a programming. It's a tactic that is a learned behavior where we can just say whatever we can say and we just derail the conversation, or we take the conversation in a different um, down a different road. That the purpose of it is they don't realize it, but
Mhm.
that's the vibe. And you have the choice whether or not to go there or not. And it's like, okay, well, we're not going there. We're staying on topic. We're going to talk about whatever it was that we were talking about. I can't even remember what it was that I had written about, but and that is the thing with social media. Social media can be brutal if you let it be brutal. Um, if you if you
Sure.
take if you take the bait, we'll say.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and people are triggered on a daily, and so they really are. And so it's you have to really step back and be like, okay, I'm no.
Yeah.
Is that what you got? Well, okay, that must be what they got. So they just didn't get it. And that's okay. Not
Yeah.
everybody,
Hey,
not
you move on
everybody's gonna
and
get it, you
you
know?
move you move on.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning of my journey and coming into the realization about the truth about Christ, there was like maybe that fear of judgment, like well, you're going to go to hell because you don't accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior and all of these things. And it's like, whoa, like, well, first of all, I've already been through hell. When you're out of alignment from God, you are in hell, and you are in the low vibrational states, which creates dis-ease in your body. So I've already been through all that.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it like, I've done way too much work, spiritual work and all of this work to just align with God, that I just and I think maybe the reason I'm saying this is because, I know it's tough out there right now. Because there's a lot of this stuff bubbling up to the surface that,
Yeah, and it's making people anxious, and we feel it. I'm not saying we don't, we're perfect and we reach this level of like, oh, nothing can touch me, but we do feel as a collective. And now when I feel, my body tells me, these aches and pains, and it's just like, okay, these are sensations, these are experiences. I just have to ground and just embrace it, take it all in. And then it'll pass. It'll pass. But yeah, I think we're living in really, really interesting times. It's really important to take time for yourself, to take care of your body. Breathe, anchor, ground. We get a lot of spiritual moments, a lot of, you can call it downloads, you can call them upgrades, and we get a lot of things up here, but we need to integrate that. And we go from like really high levels of spirituality, and then we have to ground a little bit, settle in, integrate it into our body, and then we kind of level up again. So it's really important to take time as you do. You kind of, cocoon yourself, or, go sit under a tree, go get in the water, in the lake, the beach, whatever. And just be. Just be.
Are you going to grace us with your presence? Archie's standing here, is like staring at me. I'm like, you want to come here? He's just staring at me. Come here.
Aw.
He's the best. My little, that's my little, this, and dogs are like master alchemists. They ground us. They are divine. They're divine creatures, and I'm super grateful. Come here. I'm super grateful for my little my trusty little sidekick, Archie.
Hi.
Looky, Auntie Moni. Look at Auntie Moni, Lou. Looky right there. She's gonna be here soon.
I'll see you soon in a few weeks.
Yeah. So no, this is a good talk, and I think another thing is that we don't have to fight. Number one, we don't have to fight. It's already a done deal. God has already won. It's playing out in the physical. We already won in the spirit. It's playing out in the physical. So, yeah, it's an awesome time to be alive.
Yep. We'll talk a little bit more next time. I have to jump on another meeting in a few minutes. So this was wonderful.
It was. And we just keep, showing up every week, talking about this this concept of love, and that, you know, you can't put more hate, because then it doesn't do anything but be hate. Love. I love you. I may not agree with you, but I love you anyway.
Sure.
And being okay with that, and checking our ego, and learning how to be patient and kind and understanding, and number one, compassion.
Yeah.
Compassionate. There's so many folks that just need that right now. You never know what's going on in anyone's life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just don't. And I think when, you know, we're human beings, sure, we get our energy from God and all of that. And we know that we're loved, but I think when we can give each other love, and we can say, you know, even I see people all the time. Like, I'm walked out on my walk with Archie yesterday, and I said to this woman, I go, that is a beautiful dress that you have on. And she was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Just something like that can make someone's day. I don't know what's going on in her life, and she doesn't know what's going on in my life, but I can be kind and loving at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Show love. Show it with a few words.
Yep. Show love, and create from love too. Whether it's, you know, your social, I think the social media thing, that's changing. We're not here to just throw out content that just doesn't hit with people. You know, it may hit with some people, but we should be creating from a space of what is our purpose, and with love and intention of what we're putting out there, because it's a reflection of us.
Yep.
So
yep. All right, cool. Thank you, Jamie.
All right, sister, you have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again for dialing in to Harness the Shift. And that's what we were talking about, harnessing the shift. And this shift within our own being, learning to love ourselves unconditionally, and aligning with the true teachings of Jesus Christ, and continue doing your shadow work, Matt. This is a never ending grind. And it's not a grind, but it is a never ending journey where we learn to be compassionate with ourselves, and the willingness to shine the light on the shadow, and being aware of our ego anytime it comes in. And is it coming from the head, or is it coming from the heart? And just encouraging you to stay heart-centered in your journey. And so thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Take care. Well, folks, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in to Harness the Shift. A quick reminder, I am a brand partner with LifeWave X39 patch system, and supporting your body's natural healing. Don't forget, the power within X39 activates your body's natural ability to heal and renew. For deeper insights and long-form writings, visit my Substack account, Rooted Light Drops with Jay. All links and social media handles, including Instagrams at Harness the Shift Podcast and at Rooted Light Wellness, are in the YouTube description below. We're walking this path of healing and awakening with you And until next time, stay rooted in the light and rewired for the return.